Hello, this is Leonard Rich, Administrative Director for the Lawrence County Career and Technical Center. Here today to define how the Lawrence County Career and Technical Center will comply with the latest order from the Department of Health. So let us begin. So the Lawrence County Career and Technical Center has drafted a plan of compliance, and this was emailed to all students, and it was also emailed to all parental emails we have on file. Let me review with you. This message is to inform you that in compliance with the Pennsylvania Department of Health order issued August 31st, all student, staff, and visitors to the LCCTC will be required to wear an appropriate face covering when in school, effective Tuesday, September 7th, when we come back from Labor Day. To view the order, and we have the link there, so if you wish to read the order in and of itself, then certainly you are entitled to do so. As stated in the Lawrence County CTC Health and Safety Plan, the center will follow any mandates as determined by the Pennsylvania Governor's Office, the DoH, and or the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. The LCCTC's compliance with the current DoH order aligns with previously announced and approved plan. The Lawrence County CTC has defined operational procedures below. Under Section 2, General Masking Requirement, the LCCTC will require all students, staff, or visitors working, attending, or visiting shall wear face coverings indoors, regardless of vaccinated status, with the exceptions set forth in Section 3. Section 3, Exceptions to Covering Requirements. The Lawrence County CTC will exempt students, staff, or visitors from facial coverings if the facial covering creates an unsafe condition. An unsafe condition is defined but not limited to obstructs vision, creates an entanglement hazard, creates a disease vector or causes respiratory hazard, or creates an asphyxia hazard. If operation of equipment or execution of a task meets any of the one of previous aforesaid conditions, or any other reasonable circumstance, then the operation of equipment or execution of a task may be done without wearing a facial covering. The Lawrence County Career and Technical Center will require students, staff, or visitors to provide written documentation. And we have this through our mask covering exemption request, with which I will review shortly. That a face covering would either cause a medical condition or exacerbate an existing one, including respiratory issues that impede breathing, a mental health condition, or disability. Examples of a medical condition or respiratory issue include, but are not limited to, increased bacteria and viral infection, hypoxia, hypercapnia, dizziness, headaches, syncope, and anxiety. The Lawrence County Career and Technical Center will require students, staff, and visitors to remove facial coverings when the confirmation of identity is required. Who are you? Pull down, show your face. The Lawrence County Career and Technical Center will exempt students, staff, and visitors from facial coverings when reasonable circumstances indicate little to no expectation of in-person interaction. If a teacher is by themselves, a student should not be left alone by themselves, but like a prep period or such, then an employee could remove their mask. Lawrence County Career and Technical Center will exempt students, staff, and visitors from wearing a face covering if communicating or seeking to communicate with someone who is hearing impaired or has another disability where the ability to see the mouth is essential for communication. Examples include, but are not limited to, hearing support services, instruction in classroom with a student who has a hearing impairment. So hearing impaired students lip read in part. They need to see how the enunciation of the words. That would be a situation where a teacher could remove their mask. If a teacher is instructing a class and visibility of the mouth is essential for communication, social distancing of 6 feet is expected. The Lawrence County Career and Technical Center does not serve any students under 2 years of age. However, any visitors 2 years of age or younger will be exempt from a facial covering. The Lawrence County Career and Technical Center will exempt students, staff, and visitors from facial coverings when they are eating and drinking. This includes, but not limited to, students, staff, and visitors in the cafeteria, classrooms, or any other center property whereby students, staff, and visitors are engaged in eating or drinking, like our restaurant trades program. The Lawrence County Career and Technical Center will exempt students, staff, or visitors from facial coverings when they are playing an instrument. Now, we don't have any music classes, but if someone would have an instrument, we may have some guitar players or who knows what of student interest. They wouldn't need to obviously remove a mouthpiece for playing guitar, but a woodwind, brass instrument, etc. The LCCTC will exempt students, staff, or visitors from wearing a facial covering during physical education classes. Students, staff, and visitors are expected to be active, social distance as feasible, and avoid extended contact. No student, staff, or visitor should be in extended contact as defined by established guidelines. 15 accumulated minutes within a 24-hour period. If you're in phys ed, don't stand next to anybody for any period of time. Move. Be active in phys ed. The Lawrence County Career and Technical Center will exempt students, staff, and visitors from facial coverings who are participating in a sports practice, activity, or event, whether indoors or outdoors. So we do have rental of the gym after school. We have no sports teams of our own, but they will have to follow that exemption. So what must we do? Section 4 of the order is school entity obligations. The Lawrence County Career and Technical Center will require and enforce the requirement that all teachers, children, students, and staff and visitors, subject to the exception as previously described in Section 3, wear a face covering indoors regardless of the fact that this order is in direct conflict with the locally approved health and safety plan. This order from the state supersedes the locally approved health and safety plan by this joint operating committee that had masking as optional. The Lawrence County Career and Technical Center will post prominent signs in conspicuous locations for teachers, children, students, staff, and visitors stating that face coverings are required by the order of the Secretary of Health. Places include but are not limited to entrance, exits, classrooms, athletic facilities. The Lawrence County Career and Technical Center will provide reasonable accommodations for individuals who state they have a medical condition, mental health condition, or disability that makes it unreasonable for the person to maintain a face covering. The center requires that all exemption requests be submitted on the student masking exemption form or employee masking exemption form. The LCCTC will not do the following: enforce face covering requirements when there is an exception under Section 3, or if it is unsafe to do so, restrain, use force, or physically remove teachers, children, students, staff, or visitors who refuse to comply with this order when it would not otherwise be legal to do so, violate other laws, including state and federal anti-discrimination laws. The LCCTC will develop enforcement and exemption protocols to be followed by employees. If you as a student believe you have an exemption, there's a form for you to submit to the front office. If you as an employee feel you have an exemption, there's a form to submit to your immediate supervisor. Under no conditions are we putting our hands on anybody. Under no conditions will we forcibly remove anybody, etc. Section 5 deals with transportation. Now, we do have vans, and if you're in the van, you're going to have to wear a mask. But other than that, masking has not changed relative to what you've been doing since the start of school. That public transportation conveyances such as school transportation require a mask. We recognize that wearing a face covering in school may be difficult for some students. If your child meets the criteria for exemption from wearing a face covering under the DoH order, we will honor that exemption. we ask that you please contact your child's building principal, Mr. Milanovich, so that the appropriate documentation may be submitted. We appreciate your patience and cooperation as we continue to work with you to ensure that a safe, happy, and healthy educational experience is in place for all students. So if you so choose, you may look at the order and compare it to our compliance statement. Definitions, there's Section 2, masking requirement. We have a statement. Section 3, exceptions to the covering requirement that we went over. Section 4, our obligations. We defined how we are going to meet them. Section 5, federal requirements for transportation. We also defined how that will take place. Excuse me. Other pertinent information. So, if you are a student and you believe that you have an exemption criteria, what we are asking you to do, and this form is available on our website, to complete the student face mask covering exemption request, you are to put your name, your sending school, and your grade. You must read the form. You must confirm that you have these 4 understandings. You must identify your condition, and depending upon the information on this form, we may ask for additional documentation. If you don't hear for additional documentation, you may assume approval. Your parent needs to have their name printed here. They need to have it signed, and then they also have to have the date. So this is the exemption form that students will have to complete if they believe they meet criteria. There is a similar form for employees. They must read the form, put their name, put their assignment, read Section 3, and then confirm these 4 statements, including identifying their condition, and we may request additional documentation depending upon what this form says. You may assume approval unless we ask for additional documentation. You are to print, you are to sign, you are to date, and you are to turn it in to your immediate supervisor. So, we have defined our plan of compliance. We have defined a protocol for students and employees to determine whether they warrant an exemption. So now, what is our protocol of enforcement for those who are unexempted and unmasked? The center will create a master list of all exempted students and staff. For Tuesday, September 7th, 2021, all unmasked students, staff, and visitors will be assumed exempted. The center will collect exemptions during this time. Once exemption forms have been submitted and the master list created, no later than Friday, only those students, staff, and visitors identified as exempted will be permitted to not wear facial coverings. Each department, academics, vocational, aides, secretaries, custodial staff, cafeteria, all employees shall serve as reporters of potential violations to their immediate supervisor. Enforcement is the sole responsibility and discretion of the administration. Teachers teach, cafeterias serve meals, maintenance staff keep the building going, aides support the students, secretaries support the administration. Everyone has a job to do. Stay focused on your job. If you see a potential violation, you report to the administration, and it is our responsibility to execute that enforcement. Administrators are defined as the administrative director, principal, and head custodian. All attempts at enforcement will be in compliance with the guidelines of the order. A student who is unexempted and unmasked may face progressive discipline similar to a dress code violation, warning, detention, etc. for multiple violations. A staff member who is unexempted and unmasked may face progressive discipline in line with the collective bargaining agreement, if applicable, or due process assured to the employees by the center. Any visitor who is unexempted and unmasked will be addressed and may be asked to comply or possibly be denied admittance to the center. So, you know how we intend to comply. You know your avenues should you feel you qualify for an exemption. Be you a student, be you an employee. You know our protocols for enforcement. Now it's up to us to make this work. This is a difficult time, but this is a special place filled with special students and filled with special teachers and other employees. If we work together, we will manage this situation. The situation will not be here forever, and we will move forward and we will progress. I can't tell you how much I appreciate everybody's efforts. And I want everyone to remember we're here, we're ready, we're respectful, and we're safe because we go where we're supposed to go. We're there on time. And each and every day, we're using our God given abilities to do the very best we can. Have a great Labor Day weekend. See you on Tuesday.